This video is going to be special in that I get to play with something really cool that I don't then need to find a place somewhere in this house to store it or have it on display. I got lots of little trinkets, so I don't mind at all seeing things getting moved on. Before we get to that, however, I want to talk about this. This is the Bell 202 data phone. It was available starting in the 1960s by Bell Telephone, or the Bell system, and it's manufactured by Western Electric. This is one of the earliest data modems that you could get for your data input device, your terminal, and of course for your computer. But it's a combination of digital communications and analog communications in that it also has a telephone built into it, because no matter where you were going to be, you were also going to need a telephone nearby as well. But you'd pick up your phone, you put it into voice mode, and then you could be able to dial the number that you wanted and you could talk with the other party. If you wanted to switch over to data mode for whatever reason, like say, okay, I'm going to send you this week's sales report, without hanging up the phone, you'd push another button and then you could put this on the hook there and it would start to establish the data call. The back of this has a standard EIA 232 interface. In modern speak, it has a serial port on the back of it. This idea is actually kind of nice because, like I said, if you have other stuff on your desk or it's getting kind of cluttered, do you want to have both the modem and your telephone there? What if we integrated it together? You can get this as a two-piece set where it's just the modem in one box and the telephone in the other with a nice long cable in between. But what if we could modernize this a little bit? I mean, this has a dial pad on it and it's absolutely massive. It's actually quite heavy as well. Could we simplify this? This is one of my favorite pieces of reading literature right here in the bathroom. It is actually an issue of Asian Source's Computer Products from July 1986. You get these regularly as a subscription. And what they were supposed to do is that you had all of these Asian vendors. Taiwan was a huge market making computer clone products at the time. And you could select from them and you could buy from them and sell them, or you could go and rebrand them as your own products. And there's a lot of recognizable brands in here. So SKC, then you get the ones that are like Taiwan MyComp, which I've never heard of. And then you get to hear ones such as Samsung or TPO. But then you come into stuff like Asia Commercial Company Limited, or ACC, and this is a modernized take on the Bell data phone, in that it is a combination of a corded telephone that is a now sleek plastic tabletop setup, much smaller, much lighter, but it's also a modem built in. These ones here can do 300 bits per second or 1200 bits per second, Bell 103.202 compatible. It's everything you really needed at your desk at the time in 1986. And there was a couple other companies here who were selling similar products. Here's one from Weltronics Company. Same thing. You can have the telephone built in with the modem, or if you didn't want to have the handset there, they basically gave you a giant piece of plastic that slapped over it. But it's more or less the same product. These types of modems that are combination telephone and modem that sit on the table, I've always had difficulty finding. It seems that, yes, really the only people that were selling them were these like cheap Chinese clone things that never really sold all that well, or they're kind of obscure. And once the purpose of the modem was no longer needed, people just kind of threw them away because, I mean, it was a great telephone. Who really cared otherwise? You could find something neater and much more nicer working. And I've been just unsuccessful at finding anything. And then one of my buddies said, I found this in Vancouver. Do you mind helping me get it to VCF Midwest this year? And I was like, okay, what is it? Well, it's a surprise. That surprise is underneath that towel. So if you haven't read the description of this video, the item today that we'll be talking about is this. This is the Codaphone Tel-A-Modem. This is one of those combination modems and telephone sets, and it's brand new in the box. It's interesting. This one says no factory warranty on top of it. I think this is a mail order product that was actually being sold as like last chance warehouse liquidation stuff, and it was being sold in like the DAK catalog or maybe the Sharper Image, one of those places that would sell you, again, this kind of like junky novelty trinket sort of things. But besides me being totally jealous that he managed to find this thing in the box, I gives me the opportunity to at least look this thing over before sending it on to him. I just unfortunately cannot test it in this video because we're not going to go super far into this and configure it or do any of that there. Because it's so perfectly packaged, I'm pretty sure we're just going to leave it as is. But let's open into the box, or actually before we go into the box here, let's take a look at the outside of here and try and read some of the labels on it. So I think this is going to be leaning really hard into the whole combination phone and modem thing. So let's look at the front of the box here, because it actually shows the phone completely unpacked. And you can see it's got a dial pad, it's got 4 buttons, it's got some LEDs, and it looks like a regular telephone handset. But it's the 2-line telephone with 300 1200 baud intelligent command modem. This seems kind of familiar already from the Asian Sources magazine. I wonder if we're going to see this repeatedly. Nah, 300 1200 was still pretty decent for any average person at home. Now you and your computer can talk on the same phone at the same time. That's interesting. So let's flip the box over and take a look at all of the information on the back of it. And one of the first things you may notice if you're pausing the video and looking at this is that there's a lot of repetitive compliments of the various descriptions of features here. Low-speed data format, serial, binary, asynchronous, 7 or 8 bits, data bits, 1 or 2 stop bits, odd, even, no parity. You know, what you expect of a serial port. High-speed data formats, same thing. Dialing capability, shows all of the commands, and these commands are going to be very familiar. So in the early 1980s, there was a company called the Hayes Microcomputer Products, and they made a modem called the Smart Modem. The Smart Modem was different from every other modem, where instead of just kind of flipping a switch and the modem was on, you could actually talk to the modem directly with your terminal or your computer communications device. It was programmable in that it had a Zilog Z8 microcontroller inside of it, and you could give it commands. So even if you had like a terminal that was just a glass display for an RS-232 data path, you suddenly had like this, like, it felt like a computer in between you and the modem itself. So you could do all sorts of automated controls and commands. This is doing all of those commands because once the Hayes Smart Modem command set was like published and came out, because it wasn't necessarily patented or really aggressively like challenged in court for you're using our command set, it was aggressively cloned. So this began the flood of what we call Hayes-compatible modems. They're all essentially the exact same modem inside, the same command set, the same way of doing things. You would just have other companies that would just add their own additions to that, such as MNP compression many years later. Well, that also comes down to the result codes are also the exact same thing. You can have numeric or you can have text-based result codes that'll come back to the terminal or the computer. We have an audio monitor. It has a speaker built into it, but it's not a speakerphone. We have our indicator lights, rear panel, on-off switch, power jack. We'll get into that. I'm sure we'll show that off. Why does it show me the bottom? It tells me full duplex. Our data rate's 300 to 1200 bits per second, RS-232, and the intelligence is a microprocessor with 4 kilobyte control. Again, this is going to be some sort of take on that Zilog Z8. And the rest of this here just covers over what the various things are on the phone, doubling down on what we already talked about here, except for this, telephone system compatibility. Tip and ring, which is our standard analog telephone system, or A and A1 leads for 1A2 type key system interface. So before we had the digital PBX systems or today, or even the hybrid analog PBX systems of like the 90s, we had the key systems. I'm sure we've all seen them in movies where it looks like a regular telephone, but it has a row of buttons on the bottom. Most of the time, businesses were installing what we call the 1A2 key system, which was a very simple analog, even partly mechanical, multi-line telephone system with a hold circuit on it. These are all extinct now, but they hung around until the 90s, until these more advanced digital systems began to come online, and VoIP began to slowly make people phase these systems out. This here apparently can be wired to work with that, so there's where our multi-line compatibility is there. I bet you there's 2 buttons there for line 1 and line 2. Okay, so let's open the box itself. And is it taped? No. But I can already see here that someone has messed with the tape on this. So someone's been in this already. Depressing. How much is missing? At least it's a tight fit. There we go. Okay, Okay, so what happened there is we had a manual that fell out of the way, and I have... What is this? It seems to be Codaphone. Is it just a binder? It's a sleeve. Is there a business card hiding in here? No, so it's like you put pamphlets or something in here. Why are you in here? Well, I'm assuming whoever got this must have come with it, like at a trade show or... No, Okay, well, this is just confusing, but this is cool. So it came with this little... like folder from Codaphone. That's neat. So we have a manual here, and it's not taped shut, but I'm sure the manual is a manual. Warranty, enhancements. There's really much to talk about in here. Switch settings, command descriptions, S register access. Yeah, no, this is, let me guess, S0 is rings? Yeah, no, it's a Hayes compatible modem. So that answers that. So I'm going to carefully put that there, because all of this has to be very carefully repacked so it still looks like it's brand new in the box when I deliver it to my buddy. He'll find out that I've taken this thing and opened it already once he sees this video. 2 telephone cables. Styrofoam. Oh, okay. Neat. So here is our phone. Pull the handset out of there. Is this tape shut? No, it is not. Okay. Yeah, no, this thing is brand new. And it has a modular jack on the end here. So if you didn't want to use the integrated modem on this, I know for you crazy folk out there who still use the Commodore VIC modem, you couldn't actually plug that into your telephone line directly because it used... I think it's what we call the RJ9 modular jack connector. It's not RJ11. It's not a regular telephone connector. What you would do is that on your phone, you would dial the number, unplug your handset, and plug that into the VIC modem. So you can use the VIC modem with this here as well if you don't want to use the internal modem. It's cool. We have... I wonder if this is elasticy. Oh, hey, it is still... That's fine. I find a lot of these here where the coily cords don't really hold up well with age, and the first time you go like this, they just kind of and spray hardened rubber everywhere. But that just clicks into there. Okay, so I'll put that there, and we have our AC adapter, which again is in the box. Oh, hey, it's doing that thing. So cords and styrofoam don't seem to behave well together. It's either off-gassing in the styrofoam or it's off-gassing of the rubberizing or the plasticizers in the cords, and just kind of leaning against each other for an extended period of time, it actually starts to like dissolve its way into the styrofoam and gets embedded into the cable itself. I've seen this actually with coily cables on keyboards. You wrap the keyboard or you wrap the cable around the keyboard and put it away, and when you come back you get these weird coil-shaped marks on the plastic. And that's just because of the off-gassing effect is actually reacting with the plastic on the keyboard, and sometimes it actually leaves physical marks in the keyboard, which is kind of distracting, unappealing. It's unfortunate, so just be careful whenever you put away a keyboard or something like that, that these are off-gassing actively and very slowly damaging things. And now the phone itself, put that there. And this looks like a regular telephone that's had the plastics modified on it. Okay, can I get this out of here? I can. Cool. So there's a little plastic piece right here, and that just lets you get. You put one of these pieces of paper in there. You can write your phone number or a number on there, and this piece of plastic goes over it to protect it. But it's also hiding the configuration dip switches underneath of it as well. I'll carefully put that away. How is this? Oh, that's fun. So it said no factory warranty on the box, and it has it stamped on the underside of the phone as well. And I'm also just noticing here, this is not a custom stamped piece of metal. We have a loudness control and a slot here you're supposed to have for your ringer dial. This doesn't have that there, so they've just recycled that. Okay, well, this is very similar to a normal telephone, so hold on a second. I'm going to go grab that. Here we go. So this is the telephone that was taken out of room 201 at the West Wind's Motor Inn. God knows at what time here. Same general idea here. I think actually this one's made by Automatic Electric. Do we know who made this one here? No. But I'm pretty sure, like, it's doing the same thing for styling. There's a little plastic latch that's right here that's to cover this whole piece on so you can change the overlays. And that's the same thing right here, but there is no place to physically fit overlays. But if we switch it around, this has nothing on the back, whereas the Codaphone has all of these ports here on the back. And these ports are line 1 and line 2, so there's our two telephone lines. So I guess you can be in a data call and then switch over to a voice call. And you also have your serial port, RS-232C. There's our power input, which, by the way, for you folks who may not have an AC adapter for this, is 12 volts AC, 930 milliamps. And because it's AC, you don't need to know a polarity on the barrel jack, and we have an on-off switch living right here. I would assume between these two phones, all they've done is just taken the moldings for the plastic injection and just cut the holes in them. And that's why these look so similar on the back, but these ones can now have holes. They've just modified the molds to do that. On the front of the modem, we have our dial pad. We've seen that. We have the dip switches, which are to configure the modem. Again, it's going to be a smart modem-like device, so Hayes command set. We have a single button here for data. We have a single button here for hold. This is very similar to what we saw on the data phone. You have voice mode, you have data mode, a single button goes between, but now you have electronic hold, which doesn't require the key system or anything external to the telephone to operate it. And we have our line controls here, which have LEDs on them, line 1 and line 2. And it uses these buttons. I really love this style here. These things are fun for control panels and interfaces. And then we have some LED indicators here. So AA is going to be automatic answer. RD and TD is receive data, transmit data. CD is carrier detect, so the modem heard the carrier tone of the other modem. And CM, I am not sure what that is. What is CM? What is CM? Actually, does it say on the back here? Command mode indicates when you're talking to your modem. All right, so when you are talking to the phone and the modem, and this modem here is not talking to another modem. Okay, sure, all right. So basically a power light for whatever reason. It is also got, oh, really? This ink on the underside here for no factory warranty is still wet. Okay, so I got to be careful about that because I don't want to start smearing ink all over the place. This piece of cardboard is also very thoroughly taped all the way around. I am not going to take that off yet. I am not going to deal with the tape marks on the phone. So, okay. So you would take it out of the box, you plug it in that side, you'd take your handset, you'd plug that in, and boom, there you go. Now you have yourself a combination of telephone and modem that could switch between 300 bits per second or 1200 bits per second. Yes, 300 or 1200 baud also applies in this case here. I'm not going to go into a chat about that now. And you can now dial into any information service you wanted. And what was the copyright? 1984. We're going to say 1984 for this here. So you can go into like the Source or CompuServe, or you could go to your bank or to your office. And like you can then switch between and also call up for ordering a pizza or something like that. This is cool, but I am already swimming in modems. So as much as I would really enjoy to have a phone like this, I got enough modems as it is, and I already have enough telephones as it is right now. So this is really cool. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to box this all back up, and I'm going to very carefully put this into my luggage, and I'm going to take this off to VCF Midwest. If you're at VCF Midwest 2025, you may see this kicking around. They may even plug it in and use it, but I'm not going to demo that in this video because it's not mine to mess with. I'm just going to unpack it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you love this show and tell because I've never been able to play with one of these, so you're kind of in the same boat as me right now. And until next time, Have a good one.